In this video, we're going to solve multi-operational problems using the order of operations. In this video, you're going to learn how to solve multi-operational problems using the order of operations. It is important to have an order of operations because a problem like this that has multiple operations in the same problem may be solved differently to get different answers, and we can't have a math problem getting different answers. So one person may look at this problem and they would say, okay, I'm going to solve the 2 plus 6 first, giving me 8, and then multiply that by 4, giving me an answer of 32. However, another person may choose to multiply the 6 times 4 first, giving them 24, and then adding the 2 in, giving them an answer of 26. Both of those giving us two different answers. So we have to establish a set of instructions to follow so that we only get one answer. When determining the order of operations, there is a right way and a wrong way to solve problems containing more than one operation. Only one way is guaranteed to give you the correct answer. So first of all, let's review a few things. What is the difference between an equation and an expression? Well, they both are using operations to represent the value of a certain number. For example, if we wanted to represent the value of 6, 3 times 2 is an equation that would equal 6. An expression is the same thing. The only difference is that we are not going to include the equal sign or the answer. So we're just showing the part of the number sentence that is representing the operation. So an expression would be 3 times 2, but the equation would be 3 times 2 equals 6. And if you think about that, you have in the word equation, you have equa, which is the prefix going along with the word equal. The second thing that we have to keep in mind is that some of these operations, such as addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division, have different symbols that we use to represent them. Addition, for example, we always use the plus sign to represent addition. So the plus sign is the only one that we traditionally use. Subtraction, again, we would use the subtraction symbol or the minus sign. However, multiplication and division both have multiple symbols that we can use to represent those. For example, we typically would represent 3 times 2 by using an x. However, as we get into algebra and using variables, x is going to be needed to represent numbers. So you will see more frequently 3 and then a dot and then the 2. And this also represents 3 times 2. Another method that you will see is 3, and then inside parentheses you will have a 2. The parentheses here mean that whatever this number is on the outside of parentheses, it is multiplied by whatever is inside the parentheses. And finally, we also, especially on a computer that may not have the option of doing it, you will sometimes see a star representing 3 times 2. Division also has multiple forms or multiple symbols that we can use. So for example, if we wanted to say 6 divided by 2, we would use the traditional division symbol. We also are used to using a bracket to show 6 divided by 2. However, two ways that you will now see, we're going to be using a fraction bar. So for example, a fraction bar is simply a division symbol that represents 6 divided by 2. And again, on computers, you will often see that it is a diagonal fraction bar representing 6 divided by 2. Now that we've taken care of that, we're going to solve our multi-operation problem by following a set of instructions or an algorithm. So the first thing in our steps that we want to do is we're going to place stop signs in our problem, and we're going to place them on top anytime we see addition or subtraction symbols that are not in parentheses. So for example, in this problem, you have an addition symbol here, multiplication, subtraction, and division. So we're going to put a stop sign right above where the addition and the subtraction symbol are. The next step that we are going to do is we're going to circle our terms. And what are our terms? Our terms are everything that falls outside of or in between the stop signs. So for example, here I have my stop sign and it's gonna act as a wall here. And I'm gonna circle what's on the outside. So if this was another wall, then I'm going to circle everything in between, and then if this is the wall, I'm going to circle what's on the outside. The next step that I would have is to decide what to solve first and solve one thing at a time, and that's where we're going to get into our order of operations. I'm going to give you a minute to copy this information into your journal if you are using a journal page. Now that I have my terms circled, I need to decide what I am going to solve first. And this is where the phrase, "Please excuse my dear Aunt Sally," comes into play. You may have heard this before, or you could have used the term PEMDAS. Both of these are tricks that we use to help us remember the order. So for example, if I'm looking at my please, the P in please is going to represent parentheses. So I'm going to look at my problem to see if I have anything inside of parentheses. I do not, so I would move on to the E. The E in excuse is going to represent exponents. So again, I'm going to look into my problem to see if I have any exponents to solve. I don't, so I'm going to move on to the M and the D. This is where it's a little tricky. The M and the D represent multiplication or division, but not necessarily in that order. They kind of both have the equal weight, so you're going to solve whichever one comes first. So in this problem, for example, here you see I have the multiplication problem 6 times 3. Here I have 8 divided by 2. I'm going to solve the 6 times 3 first, only because it comes before the 8 divided by 2. So 6 times 3 equals 18. And then my next step would be bring everything else down. Now, in this problem, I would have to go back to repeat my steps because I still have something other than just addition or subtraction in my problem. So I'm going to have to place my stop sign over my addition and my subtraction symbols that are not in parentheses and circle my terms. Again, I'm going to go through my steps now to decide which term to solve first. So looking at this, I do not have anything in parentheses. I do not have any exponents. I do have division, so that would be what I would solve first. So 8 divided by 2 is 4, and then I bring everything else down. Now that I no longer have anything but addition or subtraction in my problem, I don't have to use the stop signs anymore. So I'm going to go on to the last part, and I just want to solve. So now I'm down to just Aunt Sally, which is going to represent addition or subtraction. However, just like the multiplication or division, I'm going to solve it whichever one comes first. So again, it's on the same line. So addition is not more powerful than subtraction. In this problem, 4 plus 18 comes first, so I would solve that. Then I'd bring everything else down, and finally I would solve. I'm going to circle my answer and then draw what we like to say as our ice cream cone so that we know we have completed the problem. Okay, let's try this on another problem. Here I have 3 squared minus 3, and this is one of those times where I have the 3 on the outside of parentheses, which means I'm going to multiply it by the answer to this problem, plus 5. So I am going to have to put my stop signs in, and I'm going to place it here on top of the addition symbol and here on top of the subtraction symbol. I am not going to place it over this subtraction symbol because it is inside parentheses. And that would mean that because it's in parentheses, I would solve it first. I want these stop signs here, so it prevents me from solving it before the very end. So now I'm going to circle my terms, and I'm going to decide what it is that I am going to solve first. So first I am looking for anything in parentheses. And so here I have 6 minus 4, so that will be what I solve first, and I will get 2. Now as I go to bring this 3 down, and in my problems, I know that this is representing 3 times 2. So if I don't put anything in between there, it's going to eventually turn into 32. So what I want to do is I could either put the parentheses in and know that this is representing a multiplication problem, or I could choose to put in a traditional multiplication symbol, one that I'm familiar with, and then bring everything else down. So now I still have multi-operation, so I'm going to have to put my stop signs back in. And I'm looking for, circling my terms, and now I'm going back and looking at parentheses. I don't have any parentheses in the problem, but I do have an exponent here. So that is what I'm going to solve next. And of course that means that I'm multiplying 3 times 3, and that's going to give me an answer of 9. And then I can bring everything else down as normal. I still have the multiplication symbol. I still have the multiplication symbol here, so I have to put my stop signs back in and circle my terms. And then I would solve my next one. I no longer have parentheses, I no longer have exponents, but I do have multiplication. So I would multiply 3 times 2 and get 6, and then bring everything else down. Now, because I no longer have any operations other than addition or subtraction, I'm going to jump to the last step, and I would solve addition or subtraction, whichever comes first. And in this case, it's 9 minus 6, which is 3, and I bring everything else down, and I will get my final answer of 8. For these next couple of problems, I want you to pause the video to solve the problems on your own. Remember, as you're going to put your stop sign into this problem, you will not put it over this subtraction symbol because it is in parentheses, but you will put it over this one, and that means you're going to actually have a rather large term on this side because there are no other addition or subtraction symbols. Go ahead and pause the video and solve the rest of the problem and then check back in. Hopefully you got 6 as your answer. Continue on to the next problem. Pause the video as you prepare to solve this problem. Remember, you're not going to put a stop sign above the subtraction symbol, and also remember that this 3 means that you are going to multiply it by the answer to this problem. Go ahead and pause the video as you prepare to complete the problem. Hopefully you got the answer of 11. Now pause the video as you solve this problem. Remember, this 3 on the outside is representing that it is multiplying itself by the number or the answer inside here. And in addition, you're not going to put a stop sign above this subtraction symbol because it is inside parentheses. Hopefully you got the answer of 11 as your final answer. In this video, you learned how to solve multi-operational problems using the order of operations.